Hello, my name is Joris Tillet and I'm a PhD student. My PhD supervisors are Luc Jolin and Fabrice Lebars. And today I will speak about guaranteed underwater localization with scanning sonar. So in mobile robotics, the localization is fundamental for a lot of things. Without localization, it is very difficult to be truly autonomous. Most often, this is not a problem because we have GPS for land, marine, and aerial robots. But under the water, there is no GPS, and so there is no simple chip solution. The idea here is to use sound to get information about the environment. But there are some difficulties with this kind of information, because acoustic information are the most often noisy with many outliers. So basically the difficulty is to extract from the data the reliable information that are used for localization. So for this presentation we will focus on localization in pool, but it also works in harbor. And then I will explain our methods, how we exploit reliable information, and finally the results. So for the localization in pool, we have a robot in a pool which can have any shape and any dimensions as possible. But the robot needs to know before the mission the shape and the dimension of the pool. Has the knowledge of the pool, and the goal is to find the position of the robot in the horizontal plane, in X and Y plane, with respect to the pool. All the information we have are given by the sonar. So this is a scanning sonar in this context. So it is like a classical sonar that gets some information about one direction. This is a directed sonar, but it is on the mechanical motor, and it makes it turn. And so informations are gathered all around the robot. In other words, the sonar emits one ping in one direction, and then turns a little bit, and we emit a new ping in another direction close to the first one, and then continue all around the robot. An example of data obtained from one ping is displayed here. So this is a raw echo with no processing, and we can see that it can be a bit noisy and difficult to interpret. Most of the time we have a peak associated to the beginning of the echo. It is linked to the emission, and in the datasheet of the sonar we know that the first like about 30 centimeters are not to be considered. So this first peak will always be ignored. Then we have nothing, and peak, the second peak, which is probably caused by a wall. This is a big peak, it is distinct. And then we have some noise and maybe other peaks, probably corresponding to multipass. We don't know, we can't be sure here. When we represent all these pings from all around the robot, with a color bar to represent the intensity, we get pictures like this. It can be very different from each situation and each configuration. But here on the first picture we can see that it is probably taken from a pool. We can see 3 walls, and on the left we don't know if there is no wall at all, like open pool, or if there is a wall but it is too far from the sonar to be detected. So the sonar is always in the middle of the picture. And we can see that inside the pool there is a lot of noise, and out of the pool there are a lot of multipaths that are represented with multiple echo. On the right, this is quite similar. We have a lot of noise inside the pool. On the left, we have only 3 walls and a lot of multipaths out of the pool. Here are 2 other examples. In the first, we have 2 walls that are represented with clearly 2 multipath walls. This is why we see a cross, like a cross. And we have a circle that is all around the sonar, maybe it's 1 meter from the sonar. I don't know the scale here, but it is probably either the surface or the ground of the pool that creates some echoes. On the right, we have a lot of multipaths. We could think that there are 4 poles or 1 big pole, but now there is only 1 pole with a lot of outliers. And here on these 2 pictures, these are 2 more difficult pictures to interpret. The 4 first presented, we could quite easily find the pool where the pool is. Here on the first picture, I will come back later on it, but there are holes in the wall. The walls are not represented everywhere, but we can press the 4 walls. And on the right, this is a very noisy situation. We have maybe 1 wall on the left, but that's all. Everything is covered by noise. So now, how to exploit reliable information from all of that? So first of all, when we have 1 ping, we have usually we use a threshold to ignore most of the noise, little noise. So the set of this threshold is quite important, but it is used to isolate the peaks. Then we can have other process like Z-score that I use, but I will not present the detail here. So to deduce possible position for the robot from this kind of data, here the method used is to isolate some constraints that we want to be true, and then as we use constraint programming, these constraints are the base for the localization. For instance, we can have a first constraint that is quite obvious. This is the second peak corresponds to a wall. Indeed, in this picture, we have a beautiful second peak that is at around 2 meters from the sonar. It is really probably caused by a wall, but this is not always true. We can have plenty of examples where the second peak is not caused by a wall, but by an obstacle or the surface. So most often this is the surface, which is here, and other outliers. So this is not a really good constraint because it is not always true, and it can lead to errors in the localization. So we can take a second constraint, that is there is at least 1 peak that corresponds to a wall. So this is more general. So here we see there is 1 peak. We don't know which one it is, but as there are walls in the pool, we can assume that only at least 1 wall will give a nice peak and will be detected by the sonar. But here again, this is not always true. If you remember in this picture, here we can have a hole in the walls. So a pulse emitted in this direction in north here, maybe the wall will not be detected. And if we work in harbor or open pool, sometimes there is no wall, so we can have a direction where the echo is there are peaks, but the peaks never correspond to a wall. So once again, this is not a really good constraint. The last one that is proposed here is that there is no wall where there is no peak. This is again more general. Here we say that if there is no peak, if we have no data, we will call that the silence. During the silence, we are sure that there is no wall. And even that, it can be, it addresses the problem of the open pool or the harbor, because it never suggests that there is a wall somewhere. But in the example here, it doesn't work because of the holes in the wall. If we look at some precise directions, maybe we can miss the wall and consider that this is a silence if the threshold is too high, and so have an error in our localization. So the constraints that is used in our method is that is this one, but in certain condition of orientation of the emitted ping. Indeed, we can see in this picture, for example, and this is true in every picture we get from sonar. When we emit, when the sonar emits in the direction of a wall, so the ping is close to be perpendicular to the wall, then the wall is always detected. This is and so our constraints can be, and this is what is used after that, when the direction of a pulse is more or less perpendicular to a wall, then a wall implies a peak, or equivalently, a silence means no wall. So in this picture, we look at only the echoes from perpendicular directions, and we consider that if there is a silence, if there is no data, then this is that there is no wall. And with that, we can localize the robot. We'll see. So how does it work more precisely? So to use this constraint, we use tools from interval analysis. So we have our robot somewhere in the pool. We assume that the robot is in the pool. This is our initial assumption. And then we wait for the first ping, the first echo, which is perpendicular to a wall. We get a signal like this one. We use classical processing with a threshold and other little process, and we search for the silence. So we take the first silence here, and it means that we have no wall in this direction between like 40-50 centimeters and almost 2 meters. So in our pool, it gives something like that. The brown area are the places that are not compatible with the data from the sonar. This brown area are not possible for the robot. It can't be here. Then we could consider other silences from the same echo, and here we have other information that if we take into account, we get something like that. So this is not bad. We have a lot of brown area, and so the robot can only be in somewhere in the pool which is still white. So for now it's not precise at all, but this is only one echo. And then when we get echo from the north, the west, and the south, the localization can be quite good. So we will see that in the results. So first in simulation, here the red dot is the real simulated position of the robot. The green rectangle is the pool, and the orange one is the estimated position of the robot. And the little gray lines are the simulated echoes from the simulated sonar. It corresponds to the simulated peaks. So we can see once we have information from all around the robot, the localization is quite good. And in this simulation there were 50% of outliers. It means that half of the gray lines, half of the echoes are not on the wall, but they are either too far or either too close. But of course they are never too far from the robot when this is perpendicular to the simulated sonar, because this is our constraint, and this is something that we consider that is true. And when we take real data, we get pictures like that in a whirlpool. So in black and white, the white corresponds to the walls. On the left you have raw data, so the pictures with no processing, and the white once it is processed. So the pool can be recognized, but you can see that on the bottom we have big holes in the walls. So we are happy that we do not consider echoes from here. And of course the pool is turned compared to the left picture, because the robot nose is heading, and so it can take into account its heading to project data from the sonar in only one coordinate system. So here is a video of real-time localization with real data. So the same as the other video in simulation, the green rectangle is the pool, and the orange one is the estimated position at time t. So here the orange rectangle sometimes increase in size. This is because there is a little uncertainty on the speed of the robot that is considered. So the robot is static, but we consider that it can move a little in the water, and this is why the orange rectangle moves. So only useful data are represented. This is why we get only information from north, west, south, and east. So the localization at the end, well, after a few months, is quite good. We know quite precisely where we are in the north-south direction, but in the horizontal direction there is still a bit of uncertainty. This is due to the little echo we have close to the sonar on the left. We can see it on the picture in little here. But here we used only the first silence to localize the robot, and probably by using the other silence from the sonar data, we could have better localization. So to conclude, there are only a few reliable information from sonar data. So the choice of constraints is crucial to select only this reliable information and to be sure that they are really truly reliable. And so the silence in front of false seems to be interesting to localize a robot with some guarantee. So the future work, the first one is to take into consideration the other silences, not only the first, to get better localization. Then this is a work in progress, this is hardly finished. To extend the localization to a moving robot, localize the robot dynamically. Here in this presentation, the robot was always static, but we want to localize it even when it is moving. And finally, use other constraints that can be less reliable. We have seen some constraints that were not always true, but that were interesting, and we want to use them. So the idea is to score these constraints. We associate each constraint with a score that represents how much we can trust these constraints. So the silence was a quite good constraint. Maybe it will get a very high score. But the constraint that the second peak is a wall, if it is used, maybe it will have a bad score because we don't want to consider it at each time. We know that it is not always true, and the goal is to merge, to have the fusion of all these constraints with more or less trust in each one to get a better localization. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.